Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at Fender's answer to the Les Paul. Let's check it out. Yes, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are having a great day today. As I mentioned, we've got Fender's version of the Gibson Les Paul in the studio. So what we're going to do today is find out, well, just how close this is to a Les Paul. Maybe do a little A/B test between my Gibson Les Paul and this baby and find out what it's all about. Right, let's take a quick tour through this guitar so we can see, well, just how close it is to a Les Paul. Now, the exact model of this guitar is the Fender Special Edition Custom Telecaster FMT HH. That's a terrible name for this guitar. That's like Ibanez bad. I would have just called it the Fender Telecaster LP and been done with it. Anyway, I will link to this guitar in the video description below if you want all the details on it, because I'm not going to say that again. But anyways, let's get into it and yeah, see how close it is to a Les Paul. So let's start with some obvious similarities. Now, every time this guitar is listed, it always has at the top of the list, flame maple carved top. And I'll just try to catch it in the light a little bit, but it's got a really nice subtle carve to the top. And if you guys know Telecasters, you know they all just have that straight slab top. Very utilitarian, very basic. So to see a nice little carve on this is pretty cool. And it's listed as a carved maple top. So I believe it's a solid piece of maple. So that's really cool. So that's obviously the first, comparison with a Gibson Les Paul to have a solid, carved maple top. Now on the back, you guessed it, a Telecaster with a mahogany body. So that's kind of like the Les Paul recipe. Mahogany body, carved maple top. So far so good. Well, the neck is also mahogany. So I'll just take a shot of it here and guess what? Set neck. Things are starting to get a little more interesting. You can see the heel of the body kind of comes forward and the neck kind of gets glued onto that and then goes into the body. So yes, we've got a mahogany neck, mahogany body, carved maple top, set neck. Very different than any other Telecaster. Well, it reminds me a little bit of my JA90. I had that guitar for a while. If you guys watch the channel, I ended up trading or selling that one off a year or two ago. But it kind of reminds me a little bit like of that with the set neck and everything. But yeah, really cool guitar. And even though it is multiple layers of mahogany, I think they did a really good job matching up the color. So you don't see those different laminations through there. So yeah, mahogany body, there you guys go. Now in terms of the pickups, well, we've got a Seymour Duncan 59 and the pearly gates. So that makes me think that this thing is going to hold up pretty well up against the Les Paul, but time will tell. We'll see. As I mentioned, we've got a coil split here, but very simple volume tone three-way switch. Got to give a shout out to the metal output jack. Love to see that on guitars. Also got to give a shout out to the oversized strap buttons. Great features for sure. So all the basic ingredients of a Les Paul are right here. Now that being said, of course you get some of the Fender goodness along the way. Namely, you don't have to fight with a 3+3 headstock design and that 17-degree headstock tilt. Here you got the tried and true straight pull 6 inline tuning machines. Very, very good. Now, just basic tuners on here. They feel pretty good, but I know this model quite well, so I know the Graphtec ratios will drop straight in, zero modification. So if you do want to upgrade to lockers, you can do that. And of course, this is priced way lower than a Gibson Les Paul. So that's fantastic. Graphite nut here, which is good. We'll talk about the nut and the fretwork in a second. But yeah, so you get some of that Fender goodness. Of course, it's a through body design. Got to give a shout out to the string ferrules, which are flush mounted here as well. I think we'll pull the cavity cover off. I'm curious to see what kind of pots are here. I'm assuming since it is kind of like a little bit higher than that Player series, that we'll get full size pots, but let's put it on the bench and take a look. All right, let's take a look inside. I've taken the screws off, but I have not looked inside yet. So here we go, let's do that together. Nice shielding here on the back. And you know what? Looks nice and clean in there. We've got full-size pots right there. And of course, this is our push-pull. Unlabeled, but full size. So yeah, there you guys go. That's just a look inside the cavity. Looks like there's shielding inside there as well. So yeah, everything looks nice. So no surprises there. Great to see full-size pots and yeah, high quality kind of wiring and pots. All right, you guys, let's start by looking at some of the fretwork. Now I gotta say, this is some of the nicest fretwork I've seen on a Fender, like ever. Really impressed with this guitar. You know, with my Player Series guitar and some of the other Player Series ones I've seen, haven't been super impressed. And yeah, like I said, on my own guitar, very, very poor. But here you can see, doesn't matter where we are in the neck. I'll just kind of like scroll down, move down, stop and pause at random frets. They're all nice and shiny on the front face. So very, very smooth, and all the fret ends are like really, really good. So very impressed with this guitar in terms of like the overall fretwork. And the nut looks really good as well. Just take a shot at there. So we've got a graphite nut. So, you know, again, what I would consider a step up from just the basic, you know, plastic nuts that you find on the Player Series. No insert on the truss rod there. And of course we get that really beautiful, you know, kind of embossed look on the Fender logo. So I think that looks really great as well. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is a used instrument. I just picked it up used. But yeah, overall, abalone, kind of oversized dot inlays, which gives it a very unique look. But yeah, just scrolling and looking at the fretwork, gotta say, even right to the top frets, love to see that. So yeah, overall, like fretwork and playability on this guitar is phenomenal. Well, it's time to plug these guitars in and do a little A/B comparison and just see how close the Telecaster comes to my Gibson Les Paul Standard. There it is. Now, it should be mentioned that the Gibson is probably a full 3 times more expensive than the Telecaster. That's what's so beautiful about Teles, is even in sort of a deluxe form like this, they're still relatively affordable. So that's the beautiful part. But anyway, what I want to do, at least in this video, is just see how close Fender's version of the LP comes to the real thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Les Paul first, just to kind of establish that baseline. Then I'll follow it up with the Tele and see how close it comes. Now, before we talk about the tone comparison, I just want to give you guys some quick individual tones here, neck, middle, and bridge, just so you can hear this guitar in isolation. Let's start at the neck pickup. Well, let's talk about the tone comparison. Pretty interesting stuff. Now, it should be mentioned, these guitars have completely different pickups. So you're going to expect some, slight differences in output, some slight differences in EQ profile. That being said, considering we're talking about a Fender versus a Gibson here, I thought they sounded remarkably similar. At least you could get the same spirit of the Les Paul on that Telecaster. And of course, there's some huge advantages to having the Tele, like I talked about, that straight string pull, non-tilt back on the headstock, but you still get that beautiful arched, flame top, a mahogany body, that kind of stuff. And there's also a couple other advantages. Now, one of those big advantages is the weight. Here we go. Let's put the Tele on the scale. 6.6 pounds, somewhere right around that range. Can you imagine a Les Paul at 6.6 pounds? I mean, you think a guitar 7.5, 8 pounds is pretty light until you pick up something, in that 6 to 7 range. So 6.6 pounds for this Tele, absolutely phenomenal. So that pretty much wraps up what I want to say about this guitar. I will just quickly mention, a few things about playability, because that's so important when you're thinking about buying a new guitar. This one is exceedingly easy to play. It's so easy to live with, and that has to do with all the playability features. So with the carved top, there's just sort of a natural rollback from the center, so nothing digs into your forearm on the right hand, and on the back side you do get a nice belly scoop here, and as I mentioned, that heel joint that just sort of naturally slopes back this way, and everything is nicely rounded there. So you combine that with the crazy lightweight, and this thing's just so easy to play and live with. I should mention also the fingerboard radius is flatter than your typical Fender. The number escapes me right now, but you can check it out in the video description in the specs. So yeah, that's just kind of like an overview of this guitar. So lightweight, so comfortable, and tones comparable to a Les Paul, even though it's obviously its own guitar. But yeah, if you're looking for that type of tone, man, this is a cool instrument. Thanks so much for watching. It's always fun for me to bring, an interesting and unusual instrument to share with you guys, and this one definitely falls in that category. So if you enjoy videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We got lots of great content lined up for you guys, so subscribe to the channel. Other than that, hope you guys have a great week. Take care.